Hi folks, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we will discuss about the anatomy and the histology of the normal kidney. So as we know that the kidneys are the bean-shaped organs, they are located into the lower abdominal cavity and they are retroperitoneal in nature. So literally the meaning of retroperitoneal is that they are not covered by any serous membrane, like unlike the other organs in the abdominal cavity, such as stomach, liver, or other organs. And from this picture, we can see that the right side kidney is located a little bit lower compared to the left side. It is because of the pushing effect of the liver above it. And in terms of the size, the each kidney is mostly ranging from the 10 to 12 centimeter in their greatest dimension. And in terms of the weight, they are commonly in between 120 to 160 grams each. And these kidneys are very highly vascular organs. Even they receive more blood flow compared to the brain. And normally, physiologically, they receive the 25% of the cardiac output. And as we know that the primary and the multiple functions performed by the kidney, the primary function of each kidney is to form the urine. And other than that, they also helps in the balancing of the acid base, helps in the balancing the blood volume. They release erythropoietin. They helps in activating the vitamin D3. So they play the variety of the roles. While discussing about the anatomy of the kidney, so the outer structure of the kidney is physiologically it is smooth. But if you receive the kidney specimen on the surgical bench and if you feel that the outer texture of the kidney is granular, so it is a soft sign that the patient has the uncontrolled hypertension, and this phenomena is known as the uh, nephroarteriosclerosis, which we will discuss further when we'll discuss about the hypertension effect on the kidney, how the hypertension affects the kidney at the level of arterial and the level of arteries. So this outer surface is the smooth, which is covered by the capsule, which is a connective tissue and called as the renal capsule. And outside the capsule there is a perinephric fat tissue, and outside the perinephric fat tissue there is a fascia. The fancy name of that fascia is called as the fascia of Gerota. So when you receive the specimen as the surgical bench, and if you determine or if you see that the nephrectomy has been performed because of the tumor, so be careful and carefully observe that whether tumor is involving the Gerota fascia, whether it is involving the perinephric fat, because it will upstage the tumor from T2 to T3 to T3 from T4. So make sure that the tumor is not involving that structures. And on the superior medially, we know that each kidney contains the adrenal gland. So discussing further, when we the common rule of grossing the kidney is that we always slice the kidney from lateral to the medial side. So when we bivalve the kidney, the inner structure looks like that, and the inner structure of the kidney is divided into the two portion. The outer portion is called as the cortex, and the inner portion is known as the medulla. And commonly there is a distinction between the cortex and into the medulla, but there are some conditions in which this distinction is lost. The most common is like the hydronephrosis, in which the medullary region enlarges and the distinction between the cortex and the medulla is distant. The other conditions are such as any tumor which is involving these system. So in talking about the structures, so as we know that the functional unit of the kidney is the nephron, and we are millennial in terms of the nephrons. So in the counter art in the cortex region there are millions of the glomeruli which lies here, and in the medulla we commonly have the collecting duct system. So as we see that there is a pyramid structure, this pyramid structure represents the collecting ducts. These indentations in this pyramid, these represents the collection of the collecting ducts, which ultimately opens into this renal papillae, and then renal papillae leads towards the minor calyxes, and collection of these minor calyxes collectively called as the major calyxes, which at the level of hilum leads to the ureter. So in talking about these renal papillae, these are very suspected in terms of the ischemic nature, especially the patient who are suffering from the sickle cell anemia, and when they have the sickle cell crisis, they commonly form the necrosis at this aspect. And the while talking further, if we take this medulla, this renal pyramid and the cortex above it, it is this whole structure is called as the renal lobe. And in normal kidney, we have a 5 to 6 renal lobe each. So say for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 7 in this kidney. So let's discuss about the histology of this renal lobule. So this is a classic picture of this renal lobule. The outer structure is the cortex, in which we said earlier that there are millions of glomeruli lies here, and in the medulla there is a collection of the collecting ducts which were causing indentations in that renal pyramid, and which were merging together and opens into this renal papillae, which was leading towards the urethra. So let's discuss further and going on high power to discuss about this outer cortex. So this cortex contains many these glomeruli which are surrounded by the Bowman's space and then Bowman's capsule, and then which opens into the uh, tubular system. The first they interact with the proximal tubule. So here in this structure here we can see these are the glomeruli, and they are surrounded by these numerous ducts. So in this, those ducts which have the high volume of the cytoplasm, they are mostly the proximal tubule, and the tubules which have the low or the less cytoplasm, they are mostly the distal tubule. So the thing is that physiologically 65% of the ultrafiltrate made by the glomerulus is absorbed at the level of proximal convoluted tubule. So to absorb that ultrafiltrate, the proximal tubule must have the ample amount or the numerous amount of the protein. So they have a lot of transporters which help them to reabsorb the 65% of that ultrafiltrate. So histologically, we can see that there is a lot of cytoplasm in that. So it means they contains high number of the protein which helps them physiologically to absorb the maximum amount of that ultrafiltrate. So let's go much more on high power and discuss about the histology of the glomeruli and the proximal tubule or the other tubules associated with them. So going on the high power, so this is the classic and the beautiful picture of this glomeruli, which is this outer layer is the Bowman's parietal layer, which contains the epithelium, and the space between these glomeruli and the Bowman's capsule is known as the Bowman's space, and these glomeruli have their own podocytes, and the cells in between these in between two these capillaries are known as the mesangial cells. It is very hard to make a differentiate between which is podocyte and which is the mesangial cells, but we can say like any cell which is in between these two capillaries can be the mesangial cell, and any cell which is lying the basement membrane of these glomerular capillaries can be the podocytes. And physiologically we know that these podocytes make the fenestrations which helps the ultrafiltrate to goes out from the capillaries and into the Bowman's space. And here physiologically or normal histologically this basement membrane is so thin. But when we will discuss about the diabetic nephropathy or hypertensive or any proliferative or any immune mediated related disease, these basement membranes commonly become so much thick. And so uh, we we will also discuss about some stains which will highlights these thickness of these basement membranes. And along with that, as we mentioned earlier in our previous picture, the The proximal tubules are those tubules which have a very abundant amount of proteins. Because of this, their cytoplasm is much more pinkish compared to the those. So if we make a distinction between the distal and the proximal tubule, if you see any tubule which has the high amount of cytoplasm in their cells, they are most probably the proximal tubules. And proximal tubules are also those tubules which are very much predisposed to the acute tubular necrosis. So when we will discuss about the acute tubular necrosis, we will see a granular cast in their lumen, which is not present here because we are just describing the normal histology. So this is almost the basic histology of these glomeruli and these proximal tubule. So in the medical kidneys are those kidneys which are mainly the non-neoplastic kidneys. We commonly perform three of the stains to help us to determine the thickness of these glomerular basement membranes. One of them is the PAS, the other is the Silver-Jones, and the third is the trichrome. So the trichrome only helps us to determine how much the fibrosis in the glomeruli is there. So let's discuss about some of the stains. So the common stains is the PAS and the Jones silver stain or GMS stain. These two stain helps us to determine or to make a judgment on how much the glomerular basement membrane is thickened. And in comparison of the PAS and the GMS highlights those properties much more better, and the trichrome stains helps us to make a judgment on the hyalinosis or immune deposits or any fibrosis. So just a brief review here, but when we discuss about the diabetic nephropathy and the proliferative diseases, we will see the much more role of these stains, and we will discuss further as well. So these are just the brief review. Here is the this bluish stain is the trichrome stain. So here we can see that if we compare this picture from the first picture we saw, that we can see here there is a much more fibrosis and there's much more sclerosis of this glomeruli. So discussing about the other stains, so here is the Jones silver, which is highlighting these membrane, and this stain is commonly blackish in nature. And the PAS has the magenta color on these capillary membranes. So when we will discuss about some abnormalities or any infectious or any other chronic diseases affecting on the kidney, we will highlight those stains much more clearly. So this is the basic histology and the anatomy of the kidney. I hope you will like it. Thank you so much.